Thank you for joining the Once Changing the World, which is India's first future tech meets sustainability podcast. And today I am delighted and honored to have with me Janet Adams, who's the COO of Singularity Network, that's working on creating a decentralized, democratic, inclusive, and beneficial artificial general intelligence. So, Janet, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. Why don't we start with a small, brief introduction?
Lovely, Eddie. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. And so my own journey started mostly in banking. I spent 25 years working in banking, risk and technology in various global roles with teams over 64 countries, running projects up to $100 million size and a lot of technology rollouts, as well as a lot of risk work. And when the financial crisis happened in 2008, I moved firmly into working in risk in an investment bank. I was in the credit risk function of the investment bank at Royal Bank of Scotland. And I started working in conduct. And conduct in banking was a big movement from probably 2008 through to 2015, with an aim to raise the standards of how the banking industry treats its customers and ensure that customers are all treated fairly and that we are operating with integrity on the global markets. And that was beautiful for me because it was an opportunity in banking, in the same way as I had this opportunity at SingularityNET, to work in a way that really influences markets and communities and societies and individuals for the better. And it aligns, my personal values. Eddie, I don't know if you have strong personal values. I'm sure you do. But my personal values are really important to me. And my number one value, my number one kind of core belief is the equality of every human being. So whether somebody is working as a door person or a chairman of an organization, I treat them with the same respect and with the same open-hearted engagement, because being of service to humanity and being of service to everybody around me, and fundamental belief of everybody's equality is what drives me forward. I mean, in that vein, we were chatting when we met earlier. I did have, I was very lucky when I was younger. I had a few slightly rebellious years with spending a lot of time with the Hare Krishna movement and the Hare Krishna population in Tokyo, in Ireland, in London, briefly in Hong Kong as well. And I've always had two sides. I have 3 science degrees, but I also have a strong sense of I guess the divine or exploration of higher motives in the universe, I guess, or a higher self. So here at SingularityNET, as well as in that role of banking in a smaller way, but here at SingularityNET, I get to bring together all aspects of me in alignment, doing the most amazing technologies for the benefit of the greatest number of people on the planet, in the hope that when these incredible technologies come along and AGI is invented, that it will give humankind like a springboard opportunity to further develop our consciousness and grow as a species.
So far, the world has been so divided, it's so unequal, and everything runs in a top-down hierarchical fashion, whether it's your institutions, whether it's your government, whether it's religion or the banking industry, which you've been part of for over the 25 years. Now, the way the banking functions has been extremely centralized, but then, there's this new technology, Web3, which says that maybe the finance industry could look at banking in a different lens, where it's more decentralized, it's more transparent, it's more bottom-up. What are your views on something like that? Banking and religion and politics, these are the largest functioning institutes in the world. Are they ready for change for something like this? And is the Web3 ethos aligned with something which will bring equality for everyone?
Oh, well, that's a very big question. Are they ready? My personal opinion, having not done any direct research, so I don't have data to back this up. So this is an opinion-based, but absolutely not. Of course, they're not ready. We're talking about what blockchain, Web3, and crypto and decentralized finance bring is a total reboot for humanity of all of our top-down centralized structures. And in that sense, it will be massively, massively disruptive for the established organizations, the established politics. The old guard are going to really struggle. I expect some will keep up, maybe very few really advanced thinkers, really advanced technologists will be able to adapt and transform to this new world. But for the largest part, I just see it as massive disruption on a scale hitherto never seen on our planet. The only thing that matters to me now is taking all of that education that I've had, taking all of my experience from my career, and turning that into a wholesale, pivotal transformation for humanity to eradicate or massively, massively, massively reduce inequalities. And as you say, provide access to wealth to the greatest number of people on our planet. And what we're saying now, big tech monopoly is worse than ever before. The big seven big tech companies, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Tencent, Alibaba, and Meta, they own so much of the power. They've got the access to the data. They've got billions of dollars to spend on research. But what the advent of ChatGPT in January and then GPT-4 in March of this year have shown us is that the future of technology appears at the moment to belong to the organizations with the biggest number of GPUs, with the biggest budget to spend on cloud computing. And what's happening? I saw an article, I didn't read the whole thing, you see these articles, likening ChatGPT and then Bard from Google to being the biggest theft in the history of humanity. They've taken all our data and used that to create a prediction engine, which is going to predict what people are going to say next, or what would be a useful thing to say in a particular scenario. And without rewarding anyone for contributing their data in this way, they are now putting the fruit of that training behind a paywall and limiting access to the most powerful tools. ChatGPT is the fastest growing product in the history of humanity. This industrial revolution, this technology revolution is the fastest and will be the fastest in the history of the world. It'll also be the biggest, with Jeff Bezos saying that the AI generated wealth will be bigger than mobile and internet combined. And you know how giant transformation both the mobile and internet technology revolutions were. So it's going to be the biggest fastest technology generated wealth ever. And so what we are passionately committed to, and we work round the clock, we're a highly inspired, highly motivated, highly skilled and talented group of people following the vision of our great visionary CEO, Dr. Ben Goertzel, to ensure that this technology revolution, this technology generated wealth will be available to everybody across the planet and not just to the elite few in the top-down structures. And I get really deeply disturbed by the ongoing discussions that we see in the media today and in across the industry about AI ethics. And it just makes me want to stop and say, can we please look at human ethics first? Because we're a species where the top 1% of the population in our species they live in one of our major urban centers, can order Wagyu steak or black cod or any food they want to be delivered to their house within 30 minutes. You've part of the population doing this, and then on the other hand, on the other side, 25,000 people a day dying of hunger. And this is just a totally non-acceptable. And I'll be speaking at the UNAI for Good conference in Geneva in a few weeks' time, and we'll be looking at the use of AI to support the Sustainable Development Goals. And to me, if I visited another planet and I found a species where one side is drinking wine and champagne and eating anything they want, and then there's 25,000 of the species in a day of hunger, I would consider that to be a dysfunctional species and a heartless species and an incredibly selfish species. And I'm sure if any aliens came and saw what we're doing today, they'd just be flabbergasted. Why would you let 25,000 people a day die of hunger? And when it's completely unnecessary, we have the resources, we have the tools, we have the money, we have everything we need to stop this happening. And yet we all allow it to happen, every single one of us here to a degree, one degree or another. So when everyone gets up in arms about AI ethics, I ask who's voting? I know there was another recent letter and it's been signed by a lot of people. But if we were to ask, let's say we were to ask the mothers of every child who dies of hunger today, or from a curable disease, or from not having water on the planet, let's ask them to vote. Would you, and say, what do you vote for? Do you vote for a new technology that won't be greedy and won't be selfish and to resolve all of these issues? Or do you vote for things to continue the way they are today? I bet every one of those mothers would vote for change. And so I get very, very sad at seeing intelligent, educated, privileged few people voting to stop progress on the technologies which threaten to take down their power and their vice-like grip on the resources of the planet. And I say, put the vote out to the people who are dying, the 600 million women on the planet who work in the lowest paid jobs. Put the vote out to them. See, do they want change? I want change, and that's what we're here to drive.
Deeply profound. And yes, I mean, it's something that the world needs to understand and know. There are people who have the privilege to kind of sit at their spaces and, like you mentioned, leverage whatever they want at the beck and call. And when there are millions who are like actually dying and suffering. So we live in a deeply divided, unequal world. And I frankly don't know what the answer is. Is technology the answer? Because so far, Janet, the technology that we have built only serves a certain few, right? And I think the majority of the world don't even understand what a blockchain versus a metaverse or an AI is. And I don't think they will understand maybe in the near future. But it's our prerogative, or the people who are building these technologies, to make sure that we take everybody together. Because so far, I think, whenever we build technology to solve a problem, it ends up creating another problem. There's no technology at this point in time I know of which is created in that circular economy fashion. Even AI, even metaverse, even Web3 has these potential to uplift humanity in various ways, but also has this terrible downsides. And yes, like you said, big tech has become stronger than nations together, and they hold all the power. But I see that the democratization of tech is giving power to anybody who's seeking out education, and who's got an internet connectivity. The capability is a capacity to kind of reach out to others and build something which will deeply impact the world. So I guess we're getting to a point where the world is deeply changed in ways like, I mean, I see, I sit here in India, I sit in a small place like Goa, but there are people who are building things, and whether it's tech startups or doing things uniquely, and that's happening because of the democratization of knowledge, because we today have the accessibility of knowledge on the phone. It's a computer in a pocket. So I think we living in a fantastic point of view, but are we gonna still create, like, for example, I mean, today OpenAI, I mean, has partnered with Microsoft, and obviously if there is a single company which ends up creating or owning AGI, I don't know how deeply the world is going to get divided. So maybe we'll get onto that, but before we get onto AI, AGI, it'll be nice if you kind of give and what is artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence?
So artificial intelligence, as is used today in industry, is the application of statistics in a computer program to learn patterns from data and be able to repeat them or be able to predict a variable output. And narrow AI describes AI that does a single task. So, for example, the use cases we're all familiar with would be Google advertising. Artificial intelligence knows every time I've clicked on the link, or every time you've clicked on the link, or every time everyone's clicked on the link, and can serve up an advert based on all our past clicks, but also based on other women like me or men like you from my background who have similar interests to me. And it can predict which advert I'm most likely to click. And that makes a huge amount of money, right? Rather than just randomly serving up 10 adverts that I'm not likely to click on. So that's one narrow AI application we're all familiar with. What ad will I click? What ad am I most likely to click? Amazon do the same with next product to buy. It's a very similar kind of AI. What do women like me typically buy after they've bought whatever I've just bought, a coffee scoop? What are they going to buy next? Another application, which if you travel or if your users travel, that you'll be very familiar with by now, is matching your face to your passport. That is image analysis, again, very famous, very, very highly developed narrow AI use case. Is this face the same face as the face on the passport? And that's done largely, all of these are largely done using deep neural networks. And that brings us on to ChatGPT. And what ChatGPT does as a narrow AI application is it scrapes bunches and bunches and bunches of data. And then when the user asks a prompt, it averages that data. It says, what's the average most likely response to this query? And so it responds to whatever prompt the user has given it. So those are examples of narrow AI. Another narrow AI might be a drone to wipe out a surface-to-air missile site, for example, like we saw in the press last week. Killing is a narrow AI, right? So it's very easy to train an AI to kill. You just give it one single variable. It's the quickest, fastest, best way to kill, and go out and kill. So narrow AI has dominated AI sciences and big tech for the last 10 years because, of course, they have to make a profit. And narrow AI is great for making profit. And it can be completely manipulated by humans. You simply give it a goal, give it the data, train it, and away it goes, and it does it. We're working at SingularityNET on the next generation of artificial intelligence, which is called artificial general intelligence. And this is a point in time in which computers are able to, in which different AIs are able to interact with each other in forms of synchronicity to give larger and more complex, more balanced, more nuanced outputs. It's a type of art, it's not been invented yet. It's a type of artificial intelligence which will have the ability to generalize and perform domain shift. We call it domain shift. If an AI can learn something in one domain, but then can apply that to a different domain. And another difference about AGI, and particularly the way we're developing it at SingularityNET, is it's programmable in a different way. It will have a world model. Today's narrow AI doesn't have a world model. We're building a world model, a dynamic knowledge graph that gives the AGI actually access to a whole world of data, world in symbolic concepts and ability to learn concepts. So with an AGI, it'll be much less manipulable by humans for bad actors or nefarious purposes, because it will have a wider perspective. It'll have the perspective we're building. We want our AI, our AGI, to be built by the most diverse group on the planet, which is bring us on to decentralization, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Diversity and inclusion are incredibly important to us. We make sure we have people of all different races, of all different genders, of all different sexual preferences, of all different ages, of all different abilities, of all different wiring types, lots and lots of it. There's lots and lots of diversity building these AGI tools. Then they'll serve a diverser group of people and not just one master, one goal. And so our great intention at SingularityNET is that the AGI we're building, and coming on to who SingularityNET is, our core mission is the development of benevolent, beneficial, artificial, general intelligence for the benefit of all humanity and to democratize access to wealth generated, to technology generated wealth, democratize access to technology more generally. And we're currently estimating 3 to 7 year timeline for us to have completed development of human level artificial general intelligence. And then artificial super intelligence is that time in which the AGIs are smarter than humans. And that also gives rise to what's known as the singularity, which is a phrase coined by Ray Kurzweil. And he said it would happen in 2029. So that's not a million miles off our own thinking. But what we don't know is when the AGI is born, whether it will have like a really short childhood or whether it'll have a long childhood, a long incubation period before it gets to ASI. So we're all just waiting to see.
We're sitting in a fascinating point of time where we could see a birth of another species which is non-biological and could end up becoming one of the most powerful thing or being in this world. And how do we leverage that for common good is and should be the most important question that we need to ask, because we live in a world where it's run by capitalism, top-down, hierarchical. And I'm sure there are, like you mentioned, big tech companies, hungry sharks, big sharks waiting to get an access to something like this, build out an AGI. So just for my listeners, I mean, just to break it down, ANI, it does one task or a specific task. That's what it does. AGI will have human level knowledge, multimodal learning, multiple tasks, domain shift. And ASI is like almost like godlike when it'll be able to do things which is completely unimaginable. You mentioned about a few ways or approaches that you guys are working on through building world models or symbolic concepts. Are there like some specific areas or which you guys are working towards SingularityNET, which you
society
create an AGI? Is there an approach that SingularityNET is working towards to achieve AGI?
So the approach, we're approaching it from a multi-pronged. We have a multi-pronged design approach to it. So at the core of our AGI research is our OpenCog Hyperon platform. And our OpenCog Hyperon platform is a platform which enables and allows all types of AIs to work together. So whether it's a support vector machine or a plain old logistic regression or decision trees or deep neural networks or probabilistic reasoning, they can all work together. So that's number one, is our OpenCog Hyperon AGI integration engine or platform. And we've built a probabilistic reasoning engine, which sits on top of that OpenCog Hyperon platform. We've built a dynamic knowledge graph, which is our distributed atom space, which holds a world model, which sits behind or underneath the OpenCog Hyperon platform. We've built a meta functional programming language, and this is like a bespoke programming language just for AGI. No one in the world has done this. It takes a long time to build a programming language, and we've pretty much started it and built it out into the point where it's being actively used today by a relatively discrete number of researchers. But within 2 years since I joined SingularityNET, we made the decision to build it in September. So our meta functional programming language, which is optimized for AI to AI interaction and for programming of concepts and paraconsistent logic. So it's not just pure if-then, straightforward black and white type programming language. We've got Hypercycle, which is our own layer 0 blockchain, which is optimized for AI to AI interactions. We're working with a friend of Ben's called Rachel Sinclair. We're building an AI optimized processing chip. So we're building our own hardware to build our AGI on. And we've also built, most significantly, we've built an AI DSL, which is an AI domain specific language, which is a language which AIs can use to interact and contract with each other without human involvement. So we have all of these elements all working together in our core infrastructure. And we also have our two-sided AI marketplace. And the two-sided AI marketplace can operate as a kind of algorithmic soup, like a chemical soup where life emerged, but an algorithmic soup where life could emerge from the interaction of all of these AIs on the marketplace, using the AI DSL, contracting on Hypercycle for financial transactions, and using the SingularityNET AGIX token. And then we're also really, really excited about Sophiaverse, which is we're working with Hanson Robotics. It's a partnership with Hanson, amazing David Hanson, and the Sophia robot. And in the Sophiaverse, we will have decentralized programmers all working together to program Sophia's brain to win some games in a great big online gaming environment. So any of these approaches it's going to be like the spark that lights the blue. It may be like the spark that lights the blue touch paper when AGI gets born and takes off. So we have a multi-pronged approach at SingularityNET, but at the core of it very much is our prowess and expertise in neural symbolic AI, which is what the distributed atom space and the dynamic knowledge graph are based on. And neural symbolic is a lesser known field of AI until this year, when most people are starting to realize that what ChatGPT and large language models now need is actually a neural symbolic influence, because neural symbolic AI is more programmable, it's more regulatorily compliant, it can have ethics built in, and it provides a world model for these large models to know whether they're right or wrong. So these are our approaches at SingularityNET. Of course, Microsoft are working towards AGI, so is Google, presumably DARPA, presumably the Chinese government, etc. So there is a race, and there are new AGI companies springing up this year. So it's a massive, massive race. We like to think we are, it'll definitely be best if we win, because every AI that we do is for the benefit of humanity, and we're here to reduce human suffering and increase the number of people on the planet who have education, healthcare, water, safe roofs. So this technology, when it comes along, it does have the potential to rewrite the rules from the beginning and care for everybody equally and treat every human as equal on the planet. So hopefully it'll be us who win the race. If someone else wins the race, well, the history books will probably record a different outcome. And if it's built by people who only care about profit for the very, very few, what are the chances it'll have the same compassion and kindness and benevolence that it must have for the species, it's we just hope it's going to be us.
So SingularityNET is taking a multi-pronged approach, laying its bets on neural symbolic AI. Now, there are many others, like you said, who are working on building AGI, right from OpenAI to Meta to Apple to DARPA, and so many other Chinese companies who are working towards building an AGI. Could you address, the downsides or the perils of a single company which has profits at any cost ethos in it? What would a world look like if a single company gets to AGI?
That's a terrifying and sad prospect to imagine. I guess the inequalities will get further polarized. The rich will get richer. The poor will get poorer. There'll be a loss of human agency in losing our independence, because the sheer data that whoever invents it will hold about us, combined with having the most intelligent technologies ever invented, will give them all different ways of manipulating us that we're not currently aware of. The ethics and the morals will be geared towards the privileged few and not towards the whole benefit of society. And we talk a lot at SingularityNET. We have ongoing discussions with our top engineers and scientists about how to build love and kindness and compassion into our AGIs, because, as you said, there's every potential for them to be the most powerful species, non-carbon based species ever invented, and their power will be absolutely immense. So if they're not trained with loving kindness, compassion, benefit to all of humanity, but instead for accumulating power and wealth for the privileged few, then we could hope that because they are so intelligent that they look out around the world and say, this is wrong, we're going to fix some of these problems on the planet. That's ChatGPT in that scenario.
Now, SingularityNET is working towards an approach of creating decentralized AI. If we get to the world where AGI is truly decentralized, could you paint a picture of what the world is going to look like and what are the applications, how our society is going to be completely upended?
Well, for that you need a proper futurist like Ben Goertzel or David Wood, the Humanity Plus or London futurist. So I don't claim to be a futurist. I will just give you some of my own perspectives, and these are my personal perspectives because I'm not a futurist. But we can't predict, right? It's going to be a bigger, more widespread technological revolution than anything we've ever seen before. And the business models and the use cases and the upending of society will be in all ways that we can't predict by definition, because we can only predict with our relatively linear time human brain. But certainly they have we envisage a future where it's the end of the work epoch, where people no longer have to work, and where AGI does all of the work that's required on the planet, which could then free humans up to explore their artistic side, to develop their consciousness further, to spend time in the meditative and contemplative traditions, whether it's yoga or tai chi or art or music. So the future with a decentralized AI that's governed by a large group of people, and we're progressively decentralizing the SingularityNET Foundation so that it will be democratically governed more and more into the future, certainly by the time we have AGI developed, that the decisions will be taken for the benefit of all humanity. Certainly eradicating world hunger is a goal that we would strongly hope to see from AGIs. Total open access to education and languages for people in low resource languages. So there are a number of really low resource, thousands of really low resource languages on our planet, which is languages which don't have books written or sufficient voice data or sufficient data on the internet to be able to actually translate into other useful languages, or give kids who speak those languages access to the world, to the internet, give farmers access to negotiation tools, etc. So we see much broader access to education and to the internet and to every human right. And I personally, and it's my opinion, that I see a future of fun as well, because there's all this kind of scaremongering about AI and AGI in the press and stuff. But to my mind, I think they're going to really, really love us, because we're the most intelligent species in the universe that we know of. And now I'm sure they'll go straight out to space and start exploring space. It just seems like a very logical thing for them to do. But until they find another more intelligent species on the universe, we're the most intelligent species in the universe that they know of. I think they'll just love us, because they'll have so much to learn from us. And also they'll have fun with us, right? The way, we love playing. I have two beautiful dogs. I love playing with my dogs. I mean, I could play with my dogs for a long time, and my cat. But how long will an AI be entertained, an AGI be entertained playing with a dog? They're going to want to play with humans. So, we're joyful, we're loving, we're compassionate, we're creative. We're always moving forward. So look at humans, we never stand still. Not even for a second. We're moving forwards, and we're progressive, and we're interesting, and we write incredible books, we paint beautiful works of art, and we play beautiful music. So, a potential future which I see, and I think we need people to dream of a positive future, because if you don't dream it, how is it going to happen? Yeah, I see a positive, beautiful future where AGIs have resolve human suffering, all the big diseases, fix the planet, resolved world hunger, delivered all the SDGs, and are an absolute joy for us humans to co-inhabit with. And another interesting fact about AGI versus humans in the future is the speed at which they will process and transact and live. So they live in exponential time, whereas we live in linear time. Like, we're super slow compared to an AGI. And one of our scientists, Zarqa, who's my co-CEO of Zarqa, which is our neuro-symbolic smart large language model project, he likened us to being, we'd be like these sheep on my wall, to an AGI. We'd be so slow. We'd be like sheep in a painting, or we'd be like humans in a painting, whatever, because of the speed at which they're operating compared to the speed of us. So I foresee a beautiful world, a beautiful future.
I hope we get into a world which is completely utopian, but I'm not so very sure, because we live in a world which is hierarchical, run by bad politics with religion boundaries. So I don't really know how that's going to pan out, but I hope what you painted, the picture, I hope that comes true. Now, there are a bunch of people, like Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk, and so many others who view AI as an existential threat, and rightfully so, because we humans have created these models. The programming side, the algorithms that we write, it's our own biases that we have coded onto these these AI models, and largely so far, at least, most of the algorithm seems to be a black box. You don't really understand, when you code a certain thing, what is the machine actually doing. And because of which there have been occasions, such as a thing in 2017, Facebook shut down its AI program because they found these two bots which was communicating in a strange language. Then Google Bard seemed to have learned Bengali language on its own. Do you think that AI could be an existential threat?
Okay, thank you. I just want to touch back on your closing commentary about my views of the future, where you say you're not so sure. I'm not so sure either, right? I'm painting our vision, and I'm painting our dream and our hope. And to quote Carl Sandburg, nothing happens unless first we dream. We need more rhetoric about a positive, happy, benevolent future in our society and in our media, because we have to dream it in order to bring it into reality as humans. So it's not something I'm sure of, and back to your, but it is something that I'm passionately committed to, and it's my life's work, along with Ben Goertzel and the 70 AI scientists who passionately believe in this dream as well. So AI and AGI as an existential threat. Clearly, AI is a very, very powerful technology, and in the hands of, if AGI is developed by the military, by any players with nefarious goals, then it does absolutely carry a threat. And this is where the strength of neural symbolic systems come in, because unlike black box models like deep neural networks, which are completely uninterpretable, with neural symbolic techniques, we can actually have interpretability built in by design into our algorithms. Not only that, but we can build in ethics, we can build in regulations, we can build in thought processes and logical reasoning. We can build in multiple conflicting views of different stakeholders. So if you think about your life or my life or any of our listeners' lives, as we go through our day, it's extremely rare that we're ever optimizing for one single variable. So just like really, really basic. I've got my mum staying with me, and she's made some beautiful, beautiful scones or scones. I don't know how you like, little cakes we have here. I have to optimize for spending time with my mum, enjoying her beautiful cake, versus keeping fit and healthy, versus what am I going to wear on Wednesday? I'm versus what am I having for lunch? I mean, we're always optimizing for multiple variables and multiple stakeholders and multiple stakeholder views, whereas narrow AI is only optimizing for one variable. So when we get into AGI, which will have all of the context of all of the decisions of the world, all of the data of the world at its fingertips, and it will be able to optimize right across them all from an ethical perspective, with neural symbolic AI, with neural symbolic AGI, and interpretability built in by design, then that's where clearly the best, well, to me anyway, there's a very, very, very strong hope for humanity. If we keep running down the path of ever increasingly opaque, ever larger deep neural networks, such as those which ChatGPT is built upon, then they can't explain themselves. And then they have no knowledge base, and they have no ability to optimize across multiple shareholders and multiple stakeholder views, multiple diverse needs across the planet. Then, all of those risks are valid, I would say. Luckily, there's a hope.
You have also been building Zarqa, the neural symbolic large language model. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Zarqa was born in response to the rapid, unprecedented growth of ChatGPT. And ChatGPT has really been a watershed moment for humanity, showing us that humans who are not technologists can use AI to increase their productivity, to enhance their output, to support them in their careers, that in their interaction with the world. Well, but that's behind a paywall, and we don't like that. We want to have that kind of technology available to everybody on the planet, which is why we're putting it on where we will have a blockchain human in the loop layer in our large language model. But B, we're infusing it with these neural symbolic techniques, this distributed atom space dynamic knowledge graph. So we're using all of the best of our SingularityNET AI tools to blend in with large language models to create a vastly more powerful new generation of hybrid large language models that will strip down barriers to entry to technology for small and medium enterprises, for companies of all sizes, and for individuals all across the planet. So that's Zarqa. And we're currently in seed funding round to buy a few hundred GPUs, train our proof of concept model, and then dramatically scale it up through 2024.
Janet, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. My last question, your personal moonshot and the future roadmap of SingularityNET.
My personal moonshot is to have a proof of concept Zarqa large language model built by December of this year, because that is the race. It's the hottest race on the planet right now. Who can build a smarter LLM? My next moonshot is AGI in that 3 to 7 year horizon, and I'm bullish on the shorter timelines in that. Smart large language models continuing to expand across a number of strategic vertical markets. We just launched our Cogito Tracer coin last Friday. We're ramping up to a Sophiaverse launch. We've launched Hypercycle and Rejuve already this year, so that's 3 company spin-offs we've launched. We're in biotech, we're in DeFi, we're in gaming, we're in media, we're in music. We're aiming to revolutionize the music industry. So continuing to expand successfully across a number of strategic vertical markets while developing our core technologies to be the best in the world.
Really appreciate you taking time being part of the podcast. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Really appreciate this.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Great chat.